And happy podcast day, everybody. Gentlemen, it is good to be back.
Good evening.
Merry evening, if you will.
Buonasera.
Gentlemen, it's that time of the year. It's the best non-sport activity, but is a sport activity, which is the NFL draft. We got a draft coming up here.
Yeah, like fairly soon, yeah?
Yeah, so by the time people hear this, it'll be like 5 hours until the draft actually goes. I'm really excited. I love the draft. The NFL draft is such a fun, non-active sporting event. I really don't know what to compare it to because I don't think it doesn't compare to any other draft or non-actual sport play ever. Like, someone was trying to downplay that the draft is actually really dumb. It's just like a bunch of people picking names and showing highlights, but I don't think that's true. I don't know if that's the way you feel. I assume not, but I think the draft
honestly,
is so fun.
I get it. I mean, I really do get it. It's a bizarre thing if you think about it. We're talking about a bunch of names that most people are only very vaguely familiar with, if at all. We all admit we can't evaluate this draft for 5 years, so it doesn't really matter who's picked today, really. It's a kind of a weird thing.
I mean,
right?
Wait. You say you can't evaluate a draft in 5 years. I think you can start to evaluate. I don't think you get like a full picture, but I would say you could see certain players make an impact in year one, and you can see, like, you know what? This guy just can't even get on the field. This guy is not good. Like, I think you can start to build that.
If it's an all-star draft, you can often know in the first year, but you can't know a bad draft for 3, 4, 5 years.
We'll know tomorrow night if it was a good or bad draft.
I'm just saying, in a way, the most useful thing about the NFL draft for me is it separates the casual fan from the diehards, because casual fans are just happy enough to find out who the team is when September comes.
Right.
And freaks like you guys and me are obsessing over, like, dudes that even I didn't care about 6 months ago. Like, I don't watch college football, like, barely.
I don't think any of us watch college football to be true, though. Like, I don't.
But then, like, March
sports.
comes along, and I can't stop watching highlights on YouTube, going, "Oh, that guy sucks."
Right. But I think that's the thing that is so unique and impactful and entertaining about the NFL in general, is that they could take literally something that originated as a bunch of people calling in and just reading off names off of a list and turn it into an actual spectacle, because it's not just about, who are they going to take? It's like, what happens before they draft? So the Seahawks are drafting.
That is the
ninth.
interesting thing.
Like, the Seahawks are drafting 9th, and there's so many players that could go. And even if you have your dream 3 or 4 or 5, all 5 of them can go, like, in a flash, and, like, your entire focus and your entire goal, your entire, like, desired player is gone, and you have to, like, keep falling back, or you got to figure out what your plan is. And I think that
you just got to trust the board. You just got to trust the board, Sammy. Trust the board.
I don't trust any board.
Yes, you just gotta trust them.
They're all lying to me.
This isn't like what you just said, though. Just sorry, real quick. It is like a remarkable thing. That's the most impactful thing or significant thing about the draft to me, is like, it shows how much the NFL now is much more entertainment and a business than football. Because, like you talked about, it used to be very different. I am maybe one of the few people I know that, like, in 1980, I think I bring this up every year, I would like the NFL draft used to happen on weekdays in the morning, and I used to listen to it, like, on the AM radio. Like, and I don't even know why I listened to it, because I didn't even know the players they're talking about, except I had a few, select people I wanted based on newspaper articles. But yeah, I used to listen to it, like, before I went to elementary school on the radio. That's the only way you could get information. It was purely like an AM radio thing. And now, like, teams vie to host it, and it's a massive event. It's crazy how much has changed.
Yeah, when I was, like, in fifth grade, like I had a notebook and I would write down all the draft choices, like like an 11 or 12-year-old kid. Like,
Yeah.
how many of the kids that age do you know that are interested in that kind of shit? I mean, probably in our kind of circle of people that we interact with more than usual, but like on average, I imagine it's not very often.
I'm pretty sure it's how they diagnose mental illness.
They just ask you, hey, can you name the last 5 Seahawks first picks? Like, oh, yep, here we go.
Right.
Yep, that guy needs to be committed.
You know who Joe Toffelmeyer is?
Yeah, it's like, name 3 wide receivers that the Seahawks have drafted in the 4th round. Go. That's that's the level of craziness that the NFL has kind of created. And what's interesting now is, I remember back in the day, like, there was no restrictions on the contracts that they would give to the number 1 pick. So we knew, like, weeks and weeks in advance who was picked number 1, because they basically had to have the contract pre-negotiated before they even drafted them. I think Sam Bradford was the last quarterback that, like, pre-negotiated his contract before he was selected number 1. That's the thing of the past now. And this year in particular, there is massive speculation of who could go number 1, and there's no consistency at all, which is going to add, I think, to the drama of this year.
Jamarcus Russell was the final nail in the coffin for that old system.
Right?
That dude got $60 million the day he was drafted, and that's about $1 million for every yard of passing he threw. I mean, like, it sucked.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, he really, he not single-handedly, but nearly single-handedly, ruined that system. There was complaints about it before, and then for everybody who had the complaint, they just could point at him or going that dude got $60 million for nothing.
Right.
So.
And I think that has really evolved in what we are seeing in the current NFL under this new collective bargaining agreement, where because each draft position is now slotted, they don't really get a chance to negotiate their contracts anymore. It's just like, hey, if you're pick 10, this is what the number pick 10 made last year, and you're going to get 2% higher because the salary cap went up X percentage. That's what we're seeing now, and now there's literally no drama. There's no holdouts, because I don't I remember this. I know you guys too. So and so drafted first overall or the number 1 pick for the Seahawks hasn't signed their contract yet, so they haven't reported to camp. That was a thing. That's gone now. It's amazing to think about what the NFL draft and contracts before the current CBA were like, because it was pretty much like a second kind of free agency. I don't think that would work. Marcus Allen famously said, I would never play for the Seahawks, and the Seahawks chose not to draft. Is it Marcus Allen, or is it
Tony Dorsett?
Tony Dorsett. It was the Cowboys. He said that I won't play for you if you draft me. And that was a legit reason for teams not to take someone, because that player could hold out, not sign a contract, and enter in the draft the next year. That's really not the case that we see anymore. So,
are you guys old enough to remember the John Elway thing?
I'm
John
not.
Elway wasn't actually drafted by the Broncos. He was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, and he did exactly that. He's like, yeah, but I won't play for the Indianapolis Colts. So the Colts essentially had to trade him to the Denver Broncos for Chris Hinton, who was a guard, and something else. I forget what else they got for that. That was 1983, so excuse my memory. But yeah, I mean, he literally just said, but I'm not here. And John Elway could back it up, because he was also good at baseball. He was a pitcher. So he was literally if I have to play for the Indianapolis Colts, I'm going to play baseball.
Right.
Didn't Eli Manning even have a bit of a situation?
Yeah.
Eli did that. Eli did the same thing. But I think they may have decided that even just before they picked him. They're like, okay, go ahead and pick it, but then we're just going to swap who we got.
Yeah, so that's when he was selected number 1 overall by the Chargers, and then the Giants had the 5th pick, and then they immediately swapped picks after they took a photo with him holding a Chargers jersey, and it was all because his dad, Archie Manning, was like, the Chargers are a shit franchise. I played for a shit franchise my entire life. I don't want my son to play for a team like that. So,
rude.
And then the Chargers did end up picking a quarterback in the 2nd round, which ended up being Drew Brees. So they worked out okay until they decided that Drew Brees wasn't good anymore because of an injury. But yeah, and also it was there was another team. Was there a team that passed on Michael Vick because they were concerned about him? Am I remembering that correctly? There was another team where they were afraid of taking this quarterback, so they traded out, and then Atlanta came in at number 1. Am I remembering that correctly?
I have no recollection of that.
I don't remember that.
All right, I'm gonna let you guys talk a little bit. I'm gonna do a little.
I was there was a couple of years in there where I slightly lost interest in the NFL, and because I've discovered I had interest in women just for a couple of years. That obviously went away, and I got back into football.
Okay, so San Diego traded the number 1 pick to Atlanta so that Atlanta could select Michael Vick. This is when San Diego moved down to number 5 and selected LaDainian Tomlinson, and then San Diego selected Drew Brees with the number 1 pick in the second round, so the 32nd pick overall. So that's
a pretty good draft for them.
Yeah, LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees is a pretty solid 1-2 pick.
Yep.
So for whatever reason, I remember what it is now. They didn't want they were afraid of taking Michael Vick because they thought he was going to be like Ryan Leaf, I believe, because at that point this is the 2001 draft, and Ryan Leaf I think was still on the team at that time.
I don't think so, because that would be I think
no
1986.
Yeah. So it was several years later. Anyway, so
but that would give you trauma. I'm taking this number 2 pick overall, and that quarterback lasts 2 years. It's not good. Yeah. It's not good.
And that's the thing about the draft is like all of us have like a draft story that we can remember about something crazy happening or saying like, oh yeah, I hope they take this guy, and they did. Like Ross, last year you predicted the Seahawks. I can't remember, was it last year or the year before? You actually got a couple draft picks, correct? Thank you. In your mock, and also I think you had a couple guys that you thought the Seahawks were going to take, and I believe they did. I can't remember because so many things have happened, but that's what is crazy and exciting about this.
I got to say, my mock 2 years ago was actually pretty close. I was pretty close to on the Seahawks and the NFL one. Last year was awful, but 2 years ago, my accuracy was the same as Rob Rang and stuff like that.
Well done. You should have your own show.
Thank you.
Well, the 2022 NFL Draft is here, and the Seahawks won't have to wait long before their pick is officially on the clock. The Seahawks have never drafted higher than 6th overall when they took left tackle Russell Okung in the 2010 draft. It's been over a decade since the Seahawks have drafted in the top 10, and whether or not they want to stay there depends on what happens in this draft, because there is no clear-cut order in how it's going to go. The Seahawks are equipped with 8 picks before they do any more wheelin and dealin. And, the Seahawks, we've seen it all. We've seen them trade all the time. This is a Hawkscast.net podcast. With me is Zeb and Ross. I am Sam. You can check us out at Hawkscast.net, on Twitter at Seahawks Podcast or Seahawks Forum. And we are going to jump into topic number 1. And Ross, I want to know from you, what is going to happen with the 9th overall pick? You've done a couple mocks. You've done a lot of research. And what is the feeling that you think is going to happen with this 9th pick? Are we going to stay? Are we going to move? Are we going to, see all the people we would want? Are they going to be even available at the 9th pick?
Man, this is the hardest. I've written this a couple times. This is the hardest draft ever to sort of prognosticate. Yeah, it's every day. Like this is the only year this is the first year I've done 3 mocks for the NFL for the whole first round, because every time I turn around, there's like major new sources of information saying major new things. This year, I thought they would probably just stay at home because at number 9, it's a good place to be. Gonna get a good talent. Some of the talent I kind of underestimated before. Now we actually, like my first mock, I thought like, okay, we're gonna be stuck with Jermaine Johnson, and I wasn't happy because I kind of saw him as second tier. But the more I look at him, the more I think he actually is not. He's probably top tier. But now at the same time, I also think he won't be there anymore. He's skyrocketing up draft board. So like I said, I thought at first they'd stay put at number 9. I now think that the latest rumors that seem to have currency are that there may be a mini little run on wide receivers in the first round, the top half of it. If that's true, and we don't need a wide receiver, then in that case we can safely move back. Not a bunch. I don't want to go all the way back to 15, for example, but 12, 13, 14, I wouldn't mind. And I think they can safely do that and still get who they want. Who do they want? I mean, as I've got it now, I think the way it sounds weird. A week ago, I would have thought like they have no chance. But I think Kayvon is going to be there.
Kayvon Thibodeau, the defensive end from Oregon, correct?
No.
Yeah, I think he'll be there, and I think he'll be there at 12 if you see that mini run on wide receivers. If there's not a mini run on wide receivers, I think you got to stay at 9, and he should probably be there. Right. Peter King's mock has him there, and also has Jermaine Johnson still there, but I think Peter King is living in La La Land this year.
So let me try and reset a little bit of history or information for me. What sources are you using to try and determine like who's going to be available, where their ranks are? Okay, and I think that's
my computer is a pretty new computer, but I had so many windows open during this process that my computer actually was like slowing down, and I was having to like physically reload just pages and stuff. I had probably 50 pages up on one. I was using 4 different browsers, and one browser literally had about 50 tabs open.
Tabs on tabs on tabs.
Yeah. I use Draft Tech, I use CBS, I use Peter King, actually for the first time this year, I hate listening to YouTube videos on stuff because most people are so horrible, but I listened to a couple of videos. But I really, really listened to like Rob Rang's got the best insight into Seattle stuff, but he tends to be a little bit infatuated with like late round people. For the first time this year, I actually listened a little bit to Brock Ward because I don't think it's particularly objective, but like listening to the Seahawks, he does have the connections now, and unfortunately, we can't listen to John Clayton anymore. So,
R.I.P.
For national stuff, I was literally finding hometown newspapers for every community. Then you have to find one that's free. Like there's more and more paywalls, but I can't pay for a subscription to 32 newspapers. So you have to. I was like going to like local radio and local newspapers for like Jacksonville to get the scoop. And that's why I started to find out that it seems like that in Jacksonville, this seems like there's a 3-way war going on where the coach, the GM, and the owner all want somebody different, but the owner's willing to apparently give in to the coach, and the coach wants the offensive tackle. Which is why from
NC State, Ekwonu?
Yes.
I think that's...
so now all of a sudden, like I had it, the whole time I had them taking Aiden Hutchinson, and then like late, I was like, okay, actually now all of a sudden it was talking Trevon Walker, who it seems that their GM wants. Their GM wants Trevon Walker, but the head coach wants to help. They took a couple offensive players last year, including their rookie quarterback from last year. They want to help him out, so I think they want the tackle now. But I didn't have him even on my radar until like maybe yesterday, actually. But that does seem to be the pick now. That's who the coach wants. The owner is deferring to the coach.
Yeah.
So man, it's chaos out there.
So final question for you on this topic.
Yes, please.
Who is your number one, regardless of if they're available at 9 or not?
Who do I want absolutely the most that's semi-realistic?
No, just you can tell me like who is your number one on your board, regardless.
I mean, if I was Jacksonville, I'd take Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay.
I don't know why he wouldn't.
Who is the one that you think? Who is your top of the people you think Seattle will take? Is it Kayvon Thibodeau?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, he's not the safest, but I think he's also the most Seahawky. Some people are saying like they're moving him down because they don't think he's all enough football, but I don't think that's what he's saying. I just think he's more like a Richard Sherman and like Bennett type, where like he's got a brain,
right?
So.
Right.
Like that dude wants to be an entrepreneur, and in Seattle he can do that. Like Pete Carroll will be like, yeah, we're gonna help you do that because you can still be a good football player, but also still be an interesting human being. Right. So I think Seattle's the best place for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Zeb, you might be a little bit like me. What's gonna happen with the 9th overall pick come tomorrow?
I mean, basing it on the history of this regime's drafting, I think they're probably going to trade back. But now, as mentioned before, this is the highest pick we've had in a while. So maybe that changes things. If they have a guy that they really love and he's going to be there around 9, they might go ahead and pull the trigger. It's kind of, like I don't know all the guys. We talked about this. I don't watch a lot of college ball. I just don't really know much about what's going on other than what I hear from other people. But it feels a little bit disappointing that this is the draft that we have a fairly high pick in, that there's not,
yes.
Kind of like more premium blue chip guys. Something.
Yeah, it's a draft where there's a lot of depth, but not a lot of elite at the top.
Yeah, it's like it's exciting to have the 9th pick. It'd be exciting if there was somebody exciting that we could excitedly take. But
right,
who knows? I mean, a lot of people I talk to seem to think that we want Malik Willis. I don't necessarily believe that that's true. But it would be kind of exciting if that ended up happening. I guess I don't know. It would be intriguing at least. But
Malik Willis threw 12 interceptions while playing for Liberty.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Well, Liberty. I know a lot about Liberty, and that's school where you're gonna throw a lot of interceptions if you go to that school. So you can't really blame the kid.
I'm just saying he wasn't playing against amazing competition, and he threw 12 interceptions, and we know how Pete Carroll feels about turnovers. So
for sure, yeah. I really don't think it's happening. I'm just saying that if it crazily enough,
and that to me, just infuriates me. I understand these are national people, but they really don't understand the pattern. What they see is it's a mobile quarterback that has a strong arm and throws a go ball. That's Russell Wilson. That's the guy Seattle's going to take.
Seahawks need a quarterback. Beep beep boop.
Take right, exactly. So no. I feel you. So you maybe don't know who they should take, but if it were up to you, what's the position you would take? Is there a spot you say, you know what? If they can come away with this position in the first round and it's our guy, what would you like that to be?
I expect this draft to be kind of maybe offensive line and defensive line heavy. From what I understand, now again, this is secondhand information I've gotten from other people, but that next year's draft is probably going to be a little more loaded as far as skill positions. This might be a good draft to load up on that depth on the lines, maybe a cornerback, like you guys talked about. I think at number 9, if we pick at 9, if I had to bet based on my limited knowledge, I'm going with the tackle from Mississippi State,
Cross.
Yeah, to me that would make sense. But again, I think more likely than not they're going to trade back.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. We as Seahawks fans, we've only seen them really trade back. They've rarely stayed at their original draft spot. It's been, out of the past, I think 6 years, or of the past 7 years, 4 of those years they haven't had a first round pick because they've always traded it away. We didn't have a first round pick last year. We only have a first round pick this year because Russell Wilson got traded. Our pick is actually the 10th pick, and that belongs to the Jets right now.
Are you saying we were the Rams before the Rams were the Rams?
We were the Rams. We were the Rams, but we were bad at being the Rams before the Rams were the Rams. But yeah, I mean, like right now, their first pick is 104. That's the first pick that they have.
Nice.
They have to wait until day 3 until they can make a first selection. But if you're coming off a Super Bowl win, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it would. And that leads into a topic we'll talk about, which is philosophy. But yeah, I think like both of you, they could stay. Seattle's shown that they're willing to draft offensive linemen high. Russell Okung was a 6th round pick. They've taken safeties before. They've traded their picks for safeties with Jamal Adams, and they selected Earl Thomas with the 14th pick. What we have known that they don't do is they have not spent first round picks on cornerbacks, quarterbacks. They've tried with edge rushers like LJ Collier and Bruce Irvin. They've taken running backs, which people don't consider to be premium positions. They've taken an inside linebacker like a Jordan Brooks, which is not considered a premium position. But that's because they're at the back end of the first round, which is really difficult. First round picks are not created equal. If you look at any trade value chart that Jimmy Johnson made very famous way back in the day, a top 10 pick is worth sometimes at least 2.5 picks in the 20 to 32. So take that for what it's worth. But what is going to happen? I think it depends on what falls to Seattle. So I've not really versed, but I've been obsessed with mock drafts, and I've been doing it to the point that I kind of know the patterns, which is really bad. But there's 2 corners that are going very high. There's 2 edge players that are going very high, and there's 3 tackles that are going very high. So that's 7 players. If those 7 go, there's other players that can kind of filter into that top 9, a safety, a 3rd or 4th edge player. There's some wide receivers. But ultimately, Seattle could potentially lose out on those positions. I don't think Seattle's going to take a corner in the first pick with their first pick. They'll wait until round 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, as they have done historically. I don't think they'll take a quarterback number 1 because the quarterbacks this year, like Zeb said, they're not really that great. So I think with the 9th pick, they will take an edge or they will take a offensive lineman. One of the top 3 linemen, maybe one of the top 3 edge rushers. If those guys are gone, I think it is going to be very clear that Seattle will trade back because they're always happy to accumulate picks. Last year was kind of like the first time that we've seen that they're just going to take with what they have. And I don't know who Seattle would trade back for, because once you get out of the top 12 to 15, you're kind of looking at guys that are graded as, basically the same value from 15 to like 50. They're all equally weighted guys. It's just like, which one do you like more?
When you say trade back, do you actually mean like back? Like you think they could just drop out of the top, say, 13?
And I think that's the thing. So what I've heard and what I've read is this is a draft that teams want to get out of the first top 10 because they feel that the top 10 is not as valuable, so they'd be more happy to like accumulate picks. But unless there is a rush, I don't know how many teams are going to trade up, because I could see a team trade up I could see a team trade up for like one of the tackles or maybe the edge rusher if they're in the top 5, but I just don't know how many teams are actually going to do that. Like the tackle that I like the most is the guy from Alabama, and again, I'm mostly going by what other people are saying. But Evan Neal is supposed to be the best tackle, and if he
has health issues,
right?
Like some teams have taken him off the board,
right? Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's a potential issue. Like Charles Cross, he played in our air raid offense, so he doesn't run block at all, which seems like that would be a huge no-go for Seattle. That's why
I think he's one of I had him. I mocked him to Seattle my first thing, but the more I looked, now I think he's the most overrated tackle in the draft.
Yeah, one of the things that I've read from people on Charles Cross is he's just kind of blah. He's not dominating. He's not underpowered. He's just kind of there, which for your top 10 pick, that's not super exciting to think about. Whereas a Kayvon Thibodeau or an Aiden Hutchinson or Jermaine Johnson, those guys are getting a lot more publicity. There's a couple other edge rushers that have really climbed up. There's even wide receivers that are going top 10 now. But I think Seattle, I don't know how far they could trade back, because this is where I think we as fans don't fully comprehend. In order to trade back, you have to have a team that wants to move up. And if they don't want to move up, you can't move back. You can't trade. You can't force a team to take a trade if they don't want to trade with you.
And there's two parts to that. You have to find somebody who, and the second part's the more subtle part I didn't recognize for a long time, and actually John Snyder indirectly schooled me on this. But you can find somebody who wants to trade up, but if they don't have the right draft picks to like make the numbers work, it can be really challenging.
Right. And that's that whole valuation of you need to make it work out, and teams are very hesitant to trade like their future picks unless they really, really like someone. And I feel that's
I never used to understand why John Schneider always likes to include like a 6th or a 7th round extra player in his trades and stuff. And now I get it. After having done so many mocks and looking what the Seattle does, essentially what John Schneider does with his trades, rather than taking a 4th, he likes to take a 5th and a 6th, not just to have the picks. He likes to have, as it were, like exact change.
Right.
Like having a draft pick in every round means you've got something worth 20 points on the board and the 50 points and the 110. Like yesterday when I was trying to find a trade, Minnesota looked like somebody was likely to do a trade, but I could not, for the longest time, find the numbers to make it work.
Right.
Like to make the value close to even. I eventually just sort of fudged it and said like they could figure it out. Like, maybe they're going to include a player or something. But it was, you have to have like getting on the bus. You have to have exact change. Yeah. You want to get on the trade bus.
Yeah, otherwise you're overpaying. You're leaving something on the table one way or the other.
And it's actually, you've seen a couple times in the past, I've realized where like Seattle seemed to slightly shortchange themselves. 30, 40 points, but then when I looked at what they held and what the other team held, like it became more obvious. It's like they both wanted a thing. They didn't have exact change.
Right.
Seattle ended up like ripping themselves off a little bit.
All right. Well, let's move ahead because we do have some more things to talk about. So, topic number 2, Zeb, is the Seahawks front office good or bad at the draft? We're not going to take any. You have to choose good or bad.
I think they're good at it. I think you have to look at it a couple of different ways. I think that they're great at executing the draft exactly how they want to. I think they're good at getting the things that they want and manipulating things a little bit, and like we just talked about, accumulating extra picks while still getting the guys that they want. Now, whether all those guys that they want end up panning out is another discussion. But, as we've talked about before, this is a team that typically picks in the latter third of the first round, where there's just, it's much more of a crapshoot. There's so less guaranteed about how good somebody's going to be, how their game's going to translate to the pros. Well, we have this discussion about whether the Seahawks draft well or not. It's obviously a nuanced conversation, right? But I think most importantly, I think that they're good at executing the draft. I think they're good at getting the things that they want where they want to get them, and whether those players work out in the long term or not, I think is kind of a different conversation. But they obviously go hand in hand. So I think that the team is better than they get credit for sure.
What do you say to people that give Seattle as a bad drafting team?
I mean, I understand. I've thought it myself too. And there's a lot of, in the last 7-8 years, there's a lot of evidence to certain drafts not panning out well, and certain, you get that feeling. It always kind of feels like they want to pick a guy that nobody thinks they're going to pick, and it kind of seems like they're getting cute. But I think if you break down every other team's draft history, they're all going to have a lot of stuff like that in them. And yeah, of course, teams that are constantly picking in the top 5 and top 10, their draft history is probably going to look a lot better. We just haven't had that particular luxury much of late. So,
Ross, what about you? If you were to give the Seattle front office good, bad, what would you call them?
Well, man, I'm still in awe, at Zeb's amazing genius answer. Seriously, that's a great answer. Seattle's really, really good at playing the draft game. Now, are they good at evaluating? If I have to say good or bad, I say yes. I don't have an answer for you because it sounds like, Austin's out there calling me an apologist already. I get why they've kind of stuck to drafts. I've said this over and over again. If you're always drafting 25th every round for 10 years in every draft, then after 10 years, guess where you are? You're at the bottom of the league because you always got the 25th pick. So you actually have to start believing that you need to find the talent that other people can't see. You have to think you have to do it the other way. It's just like it's Moneyball in a sense, right? If you're the Oakland A's and you get paid, your payroll's $38 million, you have to compete against $300 million. You have to find a different way of doing it. You have to see what other people can't see. If you draft nearly last every year, but you have to compete against the guys who draft first, then you better find a different way of looking at things. So you gamble. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. You don't value your first round picks as much because you want to get an established player because you're afraid of who you're going to get. Or you gamble and you think you see an LJ Collier, something that nobody else can see, and you whiff sometimes. But sometimes you don't. So I get it. I really like Zeb's answer. I think they're really, really good at moving up and down to get in exactly where they need to be. I don't see other teams making sure they have exact change, as I just said. So they're really good at playing the game. I just wish sometimes they would kind of trust themselves. You know what? It's okay. Take the 25th best talent. Trust your coaching and your program to do the rest. Just take the boring, safe guy sometimes at 25. Don't overthink it. Don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. Just take the obvious pick sometimes.
Right. So I'm going to say the Seahawks are bad at drafting, and because I forced myself to give either a good or bad option, and I'm going to say that they're bad at drafting on the basis of kind of what both of you have said. They're not drafting in the top 10 all the time, so they're not going to have the same advantages. When you get to choose from an entire pool of people and you're at the front part, you're always going to have a much greater chance to hit on someone because it's just when the selection is bigger, you have more choices, you're going to do a much better job. When the pool of selection is smaller, you're trying to be as precise, you're trying to minimize risk, and I think what often happens is, like you said, Ross, is that they're going to kind of go out of their way to figure out, okay, who's the hidden gem? What are people not able to see? With that, they end up with some really bad picks sometimes, Jermaine Ifedi, he's a 4-year starter. He's still in the league, but a lot of people consider that to be a really, really bad pick. I wouldn't say that, but if you use something like PFF's website, they say that he grades that to be the worst person in the world because whatever reason. You have someone who says, oh, Russell Wilson drafted in the 3rd round, he got an F from almost every single person. Everyone said he's not going to be more than a backup quarterback or a journeyman quarterback. And he's a Super Bowl, probably going to go to the Hall of Fame, multiple time Pro Bowler, never won an MVP or got any MVP votes. But, there was a time where people still would put Andrew Luck, and he was retired for several years, as if we redo the draft, he's going to go number one. So what happens is Seattle's bad at the draft because the draft is hard. There's not a lot of teams that I would consider to be good at the draft. The biggest component of being quote-unquote good at the draft is having a quarterback. Teams that have their quarterback, they have the luxury of not worrying about the most vital position in football, and they make mistakes. They're allowed to kind of mess around and pick bad players. The Green Bay Packers drafted another quarterback in the first round when they had Aaron Rodgers. I would consider that to be a bad move. Yeah, you're trying to hedge your bets, but you just wasted one of the most valuable draft positions on a guy that might not see the field for another 2 to 3 years with the way that Aaron Rodgers
But they did that same thing when they took Aaron Rodgers, though.
But
Aaron Rodgers sat for 2 or 3 years.
And that's the thing, though. We are seeing that less and less now, where teams are less likely to let their number one quarterback, their first-round drafted quarterbacks, sit on the bench. Obviously the Packers are a unique brand of football team, and Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be the kind of player that's just going to play to spite everyone, just because that's how his mind works. But honestly, what it is just Seahawks are, they're bad, but so is most of the NFL. There's not a team out there that's exceptionally great at the draft. People miss all the time. For all the love that Seattle gets for drafting DK Metcalf, 32 other teams passed on him at least once before Seattle traded up to select him in the second round. So there is no good teams that draft in the NFL just because it is so hard, it is so difficult, and there is almost no consistency to teams that have that great team building because there's so many things that you can't account for. You can't account for what happens to a 23-year-old guy that gets a bucket of money and maybe he drives an ATV and, gets brain damage. That's stuff that no scout, no GM, no coach can account for, but that's a reality. So everyone's bad at drafting.
I mean, paradoxically, I think Russell Wilson's almost the proof of that. I mean, it worked out. But if you actually thought at the time Russell Wilson is your franchise guy and we totally believe in him, then you shouldn't have waited to the third round to draft him.
Exactly. And the same thing happened to the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott was drafted in the third or fourth round. He only played because Tony Romo got hurt. No one knew that Dak was going to be as good as he is.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes no sense to wait. Maybe you would have got killed for the pick, but if you actually, eventually, if you really, really believed in Russell Wilson, then you shouldn't have waited to the third round.
Right.
I was actually talking to Yumi today about it. So in fact, the third round is a really weird pick generally to pick a quarterback. Anyway, quarterbacks are taken in the first round or the fifth, sixth, and seventh. You either have a guy that you believe in and that you better get him because if you don't, you risk losing your franchise quarterback over saving a little bit of draft capital. That's dumb. Or it's just a dart throw guy that you're taking a risk on at fifth, sixth, and seventh.
Yep. Exactly.
Very few are taken in the third and fourth, although sometimes those work out.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we're going to move on. We're going to do something that I'm really excited for. We're going to do a Hawkscast.net podcast mock draft. So Zeb, Ross, and we are going to be the front office. You guys can fight for who is John Schneider and who's Pete Carroll. I'm just going to be the button pusher. We're going
to be the intern.
we're going to do a 3-round mock draft. We're going to select the Seahawks. We're going to use kind of the default mock draft settings for PFF. So it is all ready, raring to go. So if you're following live on the interwebs, really excited for this portion. And, we'll see how it works. And we're going to start with us entering the draft. So right now we are ready for the Seahawks. We're going to do 3 rounds. We're going to do the draft at speed at medium speed so we can kind of see the names, and we're going to go. So with the first pick, the Jaguars select. Let's see who they select. Before we start, does anyone want to trade up? I'm not interested in trading up, but does anyone want to?
Nope.
Nah.
All right, so we have a quorum. So we're going to let the draft go. And with the first pick, it's Aiden Hutchinson. We'll kind of catch up here. Aiden Hutchinson, end from Michigan, goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trayvon Taylor, another end from Georgia, goes to the Detroit Lions. Kayvon Thibodeau goes end from Oregon, goes to the Houston Texans. Sauce Gardner, corner from Cincinnati, goes to the Jets. Evan Yotaka from Alabama goes to the Giants, 5th overall. Kyle Hamilton, safety, goes to from Notre Dame, goes to Carolina. Derek Stingley, corner from LSU, goes to the Giants. Charles Cross, offensive tackle from Mississippi State, goes to the Atlanta Falcons. And now Seattle sits at the 9th pick. So here are a couple players that are available. We have tackle Iquim Ekwonu, wide receiver Jamison Williams, George Colinos, end from Purdue, Trent McDuffie, Drake London, wide receiver USC, blah, 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 blah. All right, so we're on the clock.
Take the tackle.
Zeb wants to take the tackle. Ross, what do you want to do? There is the tackle, there's the end, there's wide receiver, there's a corner. We could trade.
Which corner is still available again?
So the highest corner available is Trent McDuffie, Washington, from University of Washington.
No, okay. What are the top 2 tackles?
The top 2 tackles are Equim Ekwonu from North Carolina State. The next is Bernard Ryman from Central Michigan, Tyler Smith from Tulsa, and then Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa.
All right, and the last one, who's the highest edge?
And the highest edge player is George Karlaftis from Purdue, Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State, and Ed Bonita from Oklahoma.
I totally understand why Zeb wants Ekwonu. I think in this case, I want Jermaine Johnson.
All right. You guys didn't even bother to peek at the trade offers. There are 13 teams that want to trade back. Let's take a peek.
Hold on a second. No wide receivers been taken yet, right?
No wide receivers have been taken.
Okay. So are the Vikings one of the trade offers?
So the Vikings at 12, the Eagles at 15, the Steelers at 20, and then you're going into the 20s. But the Vikings at 12, the Eagles at 15. Those are the 2 teams that I would probably look at. But
so if we value Ekwonu and, for example, Jermaine Johnson the same, that's 2 players, 9, 10, 11, 12.
We dropped 3 spots, so we'd have to let the Jets, the Commanders, and then the Vikings would select in front of us. So 3 teams would select.
Who did the Jets take for their first one again at 4?
The Jets took Sauce Gardner. And Birdfinger is saying Ekwonu like booyah. So Bird on the chat wants Ekwonu.
But see, Jermaine Johnson's just as good a value, and if they're 2 if we've dropped down 3, I think Zeb, what do you think?
Look, I mean, I'm taking the tackle.
But like right now, you don't want to because there's going to be good tackles. There's going to be good tackles in the second round still. We can get the guy from Wazoo.
Abraham Lucas.
Yeah, he's going to be there.
Okay, so we trade with the Vikings and drop back to 12.
Maybe
the tackle will probably still be there at 12.
And if he's not,
the tackle is not going to make it past.
Well, he might. Depends on what.
As long as
the
we're
Vikings
before the Texans, I think we're safe.
Because the Texans could take anything.
Because it turns out they need everything.
Yes. PFF even says they need every position.
What do you think, Sammy? Do you want to move down or do you want to just take the tackle here?
I would actually lean towards taking the tackle. Like, Ekwonu is not my number one. Like I said, I like Adam Neal,
I don't want
to. My actual preference, and I forgot to mention this, like what I would love to get Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is the guy that I want, but I don't want him at 9 because I think you could drop a little bit further back and get him.
Let's trade then. Let's see what happens.
Let's go to the Vikings.
Okay.
The Vikings, I think, can give us 77.
So, according to PFF, if we offer them the 9, we have a 27% chance to get the 12 and the 46 pick. If we take the 77th pick, it's guaranteed. So, we have 5 attempts. I'm going to try to trade for the 12 and 46. But is that
in real life,
unrealistic?
they would never do that. In real life, they would never do that.
Okay.
Okay, just to make it realistic, ask for the 46, but then give something like the 152nd.
Okay, so I'll give up our 153rd pick, and we're going to take the 12th and the 46th. It's got a 36% chance.
Okay, let's go for it. Roll the dice.
And they accepted the trade. All right,
okay.
So we're going to resume the draft.
And who do they take?
And Okung goes right away. So the Vikings take Okung. The Jets at 10 take the corner Trent McDuffie, and the Commanders take Jameson Williams, the wide receiver from Alabama. So the first wide receiver is off the board.
So I think we... What?
I said I'm out.
I think take Jermaine Johnson there.
Jeremiah Johnson?
Sorry, Jeremiah Johnson. I think that's... You want the edge, dude. He could go as high as he could go.
I want Jordan. I want Jordan Davis though.
Oh no, dude! I know he's a defensive tackle.
Take Malik.
He could be so good though. He could be like our Cortez Kennedy.
He'll never be. He doesn't have the production for that. I know everybody I don't like late rising people. Until he ran insanely fast at the thing at the combine, you never heard of the dude.
Yeah, but I haven't heard of any of these guys. So,
right, I'm just saying his production's actually worse than Devontae Wyatt, who's just not this physical specimen, but actually just seems more like a football player. Do you trust this guy to stay at his combine weight forever? Because if he gains any more weight, all those other numbers go away too.
So let me make the case then here.
And he very quickly could become a 2-down dude that you're getting in the first round, dude.
I fully understand defensive tackles maybe only sometimes play 2 possession or two downs of 3. But if we're gonna go defensive end, we're gonna go edge rusher. Why not try and see if we get Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State, who has a better power success rate of a lot of the edge players that would be available now.
Because that guy disappears against good talent. That's why.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to take Davis, then I think we should go back, trade back down to 14.
What's wrong with Karlaftis?
He's not bad. He's just not very sexy for the position. He's okay.
He's going to be like a Grant Wistrom, a guy that just wins on pure hustle, not because he just wins straight out.
He's going to get
there's another comparison, but I forget his name. Another white guy.
He's going to get us an A in the first round, and that's what matters.
I mean, if you guys want the Jordan Davis, I could deal, but please trade back at least another 2 spots.
Who's the guy you want?
He wants Jermaine Johnson.
Oh, that's right, Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah, that guy's like a first in the door, last out the door dude. Super student of the game, super high motor, super high production. Always, he's a super high work ethic. He's flying up the boards. He actually is not a liability against the run either. He's good against the run. He's not absolutely the edge, but he's good edge, and he's good against D. And he's just well rounded. This is why he shouldn't even be there. This simulator was programmed before people realized what they had in him.
We're gonna get a CD to pick him.
So I will defer to Ross because
you don't take a defensive tackle in the first round.
Hey, you know what? To be fair, I promised Ryan Davis, P-Hawk, that I would advocate for Jordan Davis, and I have. I will defer to Ross because you have a little bit more expertise. I'm just pushing the buttons.
I mean, if you want it, like I said, I don't mind it, but at least go back 2 more spots.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's see the Ravens give us an offer.
All right. So the team that's willing to offer us a trade is the Chargers at 17. So we would have to have Jordan Davis past the Ravens at 14, Eagles at 15, Saints at 16, and hope that he's still there at 17.
No, he won't be because the Ravens will take him.
Yeah, Ravens are taking him.
Maybe the Eagles, but the Ravens will definitely take him.
Right.
He's the most Raven player ever.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
it's up to you, man. Seriously, it's just a
we
month.
need an edge guy. We want an edge guy. We got Puna Ford. We're good.
Yes.
All right. We're gonna take Jermaine
Right now, though, because he's like we could probably get him later. Don't you think?
It depends on what we want to do with our mock, because do we want to like game this particular simulator or go with something that's realistic? Because realistically, like I said, like the simulator was programmed like a couple months ago, and how it's valued now is Johnson is valued he may not even be there at 5. I mean, there's some talk that Jets take him at 4.
Pull the trigger.
All right. With the 12th overall pick, Seattle Seahawks select Jermaine Johnson from Florida State.
Yay! High fives all around.
All right. So
C-.
we got a wide receiver going off the board, linebacker, more wide receivers. We got a while until we get to the 40, so we'll just do
This one at 17.
All right. So here we are. Here's some highlights. Jordan Davis did go 17 to the Chargers. Malik Willis, the first quarterback, goes 16 to the Saints. Let's see. Tyler Linderbaum, a guy I know that Ross likes trading up for. He goes 22 to the Packers. Let's see.
Down goes Penning.
Penning goes, but I don't like that guy. He was getting beat up in the Senior Bowl by speed guys. Arnold Ebiketie goes 31 to the Bengals. The second quarterback, Cody Pickett, goes 32 to the Lions. Let's see. The Texans select Desmond Ridder at 37, another wide receiver, and now the Seahawks sit at 40. So at 40, we've got some corners. There's some edge guys. Abraham Lucas is available. I know that's the guy that we've talked about. There's a lot of edge guys available. What are we thinking with our second pick now that we've secured an edge? Are we looking tackle? Are we looking corner? Are we looking...
Who's the top corner available, or the top 2 corners available?
The top corner available, according to PFF, is Jalen Petrie from Baylor, Kyler Gordon from Washington, Roger McCreary from Auburn, and then Cam Taylor-Britt, Nebraska. So I don't think the Seahawks would take a cornerback this high. So I've always tried to avoid taking a quarterback at any mock I've done in the second round.
Who's the best tackle?
The best offensive tackle is going to be Lucas from Wazoo, Abraham Lucas, and then it's Luke Giudecki from Central Michigan, Zach Torn, Wake Forest, and Jamar Saylor at Georgia.
Who's the best guard, just in case?
The best guard...
Interior offensive lineman.
Oh, yeah.
We got to take Lucas, right? Come on.
Well, we got 2 picks. We have 40 and 41, so we have back-to-back picks.
Well, we're taking Matt Corral with the next one.
Dylan Partham from Memphis, guard. Then there's a center from Arizona State, guard from Chattanooga, Cole Strange, center from Nebraska, guard from Oklahoma, center from Kentucky.
It's a little early for Strange and for Lucas, but it's where our picks are. I'll share you a little information. The Seahawks spent they have their 30 official visits. They visited with Cam, the cornerback. They visited with Strange, the guard. They visited with Lucas, I believe, the tackle. It's a little early to take that tackle there, but it's where we're at.
Well, we also have the 41st pick, so we have back-to-back. We have the 40 and 41st.
Well, I think Zeb wants us to do we are taking a quarterback this year's thing. So
No, we're not taking a quarterback. We don't need one. We got Drew Lock.
Birdfinger chiming in on the chat saying Lucas won't last until our 3rd-round pick. He's got to be one of our 2 second-round picks. So, Bird, we have 3 second-round picks. We have 40, 41, and 46.
We gained 46.
Yeah.
We gained 46. So let's take let's take Lucas now, I guess.
Okay, so we're going to take Lucas with our 40th pick. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will be true to our spirit, not true to gaming the system. So now we have the 41st pick. So
It's gonna suck, but
I'm going to throw a name out there. I'm going to throw out defensive end from Michigan, David Ojabo. He could be our Darrell Taylor for 2023.
That's the ACL dude, right?
That's the dude that broke his ACL in his pro day. He was the guy that lined up opposite Agent Hutchinson, who was a top 5 pick in this mock.
so next year he'll be a star.
Correct. And we have another second-round pick that we could spend anywhere we want still.
But we don't want to go corner this early, you said, right?
I just think that the Seahawks aren't going to go corner just because they've proven that they can find people, and the fact that they have.
And have they proven they can find people? I guess they kind of have.
They have, and again, it's a decision of, okay, like, of the years that they've been bad at corner, they've been more successful than not. So, you know.
If you want to, like, I don't mind that pick, that edge dude, the injured edge dude.
Ojabo?
Yeah.
Is there a kicker?
There is a kicker, but if we're going to take a kicker, we're taking Dicker from Texas because we're gonna boot Myers and we're gonna have Dicker, and Dicker's son is our punting team.
Dicker and Dixon, I like it.
All right, so is Ojabo?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So now, let's see here.
Matt,
46, right?
So we're at 46. So wide receiver goes, corner goes, the first running back goes, Breece Hall from Iowa State, and then Kyler Gordon from Washington goes. So now we have 46. I know Ross. I've in all my mocks, this guy keeps going higher and higher in the draft. But we're now at 46. We have the 46th and the 72nd pick left in our 3-round mock here.
I know you guys will hate this. Well, we got 2 choices. We need a running back. We can probably get Pierce.
Do we need
a
running back in the 2nd round?
I mean, here's the thing. What if Penny sucks and Carson's done?
We're
potentially relying on the run game this year.
All right, let me just pull up the running backs that are available. So
I like Pierce in the 3rd, so it's okay if you
Kenneth
want to
Walker, Dameon Pierce, James Cook.
The thing.
Yeah.
There's only 2 we want. We want either Walker, but that may be like a little bit too rich if you don't want to spend it now. But that means that we have to have Pierce. That means we have to spend 72nd on him rather than 109 because you can't take the gamble.
Right. So I guess the question is, like, are we drafting for need or best player available? What are we looking at right now?
Both.
We have a tackle. Right. So we have a tackle.
Who's the top person listed overall right now?
Sam Howell from North Carolina, quarterback.
Yeah,
Matt Corral's still available too.
Who's the top non-quarterback person listed?
Linebacker Leo Chenal from Wisconsin, Ed Bonita.
That is really good. We do need one more linebacker.
And then
I might take him at 46.
Jaquan Brisker, safety from Penn State. Drake Jackson, end from USC. John Pascal from Kentucky.
Nope.
Matt
Who's
Corral.
the top wide receiver? Who's the top 2 wide receivers listed?
The top wide receivers available:
Tolbert
and John Minchie from Alabama. And I actually like Minchie. Like his stats.
Minchie's hurt, right? Minchie's it's like our last pick. It's just like investing for next year,
right?
Potentially.
Right. But he had a great senior year.
Yeah, he did. But again, like we're gonna spend 2 out of our top 4 picks on things that we don't get anything for this year.
If we don't think we're gonna be very great this year, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Oh, you know what? How about take the guard? I mean, I know it's a little early, but if you go look into the guards again, the guy they had the visit with, where's he? What's he listed at?
So Dylan Partham is ranked from the guard from Memphis. Or are you talking about the guy from Chattanooga?
Chattanooga.
The guy from Chattanooga, he's ranked 86th.
Strange, right?
Yeah, Cole Strange. He's ranked 86th. Average draft position is 84.7.
Okay, how about we...
Birdfinger saying we should go linebacker.
We could. What are the offers for us for this last second? I mean, because the meat of this draft is like the 3rd and 4th rounds to me.
Okay.
Can we move back?
So trades that we have available to us is New England at 54, Arizona 55, and Cincinnati 63. So you're moving at least 8 picks back.
I wouldn't mind that New England offer, maybe.
So
If they gave us something good.
So if we start off with just this pick, New England, are we going just for like? So if we give them the 46th pick, we have a 34% chance at the 54 and 85th pick.
Let's do that.
Okay, so with 34% chance, let's offer it up to New England and see what they say. They rejected it. We have 4 attempts left. Should we try not to game the system?
We knew it was the 6th round from next year.
A 6th round from next year will push it up to 44%.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to give them our 6th round next year. They rejected it.
Oh, come on, Bill.
All right, so I think to be fair, so we don't game the system, New England is no longer viable. Let's look at what Arizona has to offer. Arizona has a 55th pick. 87th is the next one. And that's a 51. It's a 51% chance. They do reject it.
And take their 7th to next year.
Well, it's 51% and they rejected it. So we have 2 trade
They
already rejected it.
Well, give them both our ones next year.
Give them our 7th next year.
All right, so we don't have a 7th next year. We have a 6th. It will go up to, all right, so we'll give our 6th next year. This trade was accepted.
Okay.
All right, so the running back goes. Matt Corral goes, and now we're at 55, and we lost out on...
Well, we're taking Leo. Take the white boy.
Leo Chenal, the linebacker from Wisconsin.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
And there we go.
All right.
All right. So corners.
Solid C-.
So now this is where we start looking at corner territory, I believe. So here we are, 72. Top players, we've got linebackers, edge, tackle, the guard that Ross was talking about. Carson Strong, and then Marcus Jones. So Marcus Jones is an interesting guy. He's undersized. He's more of a nickel, but he's also a special teams guy. So
linebacker.
What picks do we have in the 2nd and 3rd round?
We have the 72nd and 87th pick left.
One of these has to be Pierce.
All right. You want Pierce from Cincinnati, the wide receiver?
No. The running back.
You want the running back, Pierce. Okay. Well, we could spend our 87th pick with him, or we get him now. What do you think we should do?
I guess we can wait. But the thing is, he's the next one up, so somebody might take him.
We should have took that linebacker from Oklahoma is what we should have done. Damn it.
The linebacker from Oklahoma is still available.
I know, but we just took a linebacker.
Yeah.
We need we literally, Carson's probably done, and we're banking everything on his 5 games.
Carson looks like a monster right now. Have you seen him?
Yeah. Tree trunks on tree trunks, that guy's legs.
Tell me, have you seen him?
Yeah, but the problem is it's all about the nerve damage. I personally think, I know you guys hate it, but I think you almost.
I don't hate it. Can we get him? What's it?
He's the next running back off, and we don't have a pick for 15 picks.
Yeah.
Is he even still available?
So Damian Pierce out of Florida is available. He's ranked on PFF as the 95th best player.
Well, I kind of want to take the guard and the running back and a cornerback, but we only have 2 picks. So
yeah, my preference is we should take a corner, but if we take a corner, it has to be someone that's going to go on the outside, which would remove Marcus Jones from the field.
Who are the other cornerbacks available?
So the cornerback out of Alabama, Jalen Amar Davis, he's got the size and his stats from Alabama again. I don't know anything. I'm just looking at numbers. He's got the size that Seattle likes. Then you're looking at guys like Damari Mathis from Pittsburgh, Cordell Flott from LSU, Martin Emerson, Mississippi State. A guy that, if we were going to do later picks, I would look at the corner from Cincinnati that played opposite Sauce Gardner in Colby Bryant. He had his name is Colby Bryant, not Kobe. Or the corner from Alabama, Josh Jobe.
That job is good.
So I think Seattle's not really going to stress about a corner in the third round unless it's late. And I think Ross, if we go guard, we could, but do we have a spot for him? Like, is he going to beat out Gabe Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's a little weird thing. Is Sam Williams still available? Probably not, but just check. He's an edge.
All right.
Are we on the clock, or do we have as much time as we want?
Sam Williams from Mississippi is still available.
Oh, God. If we went edge, man.
3 edge players with one of them not playing.
Pete
Man.
Buttigieg, edge.
Sam Williams is a pretty amazing dude. He's dropped because of character issues and stuff like that, but he's also very Seahawky.
Another option is we could take one of the tackles, offensive lineman that's available, because we do need offensive linemen still at the tackle position. There's
Brian Cook. That's my cousin's name.
nice. There are 4 of the top tackles. Of the current ranking, there are 4 tackles that would be available. There's even a center.
Who's the very top? Which is the center?
The top-rated center that is available is Donovan West from Arizona State, and then there's another one from Kentucky, I think, if we want to go a little bit further down.
We want to get the Boston College dude really late, so never mind. I personally kind of want to go for Strange, but I would take anything that's reasonable.
Who's the Boston College guy? Pete Kendall?
Where are you? Yeah, Sammy, where do you want to go?
I would go towards tackle. Offensive tackle would be my preference.
You think we can get the running back with our next pick?
That's gamble. Let's take a tackle and see if we get the running back.
It's a gamble.
So, of the tackles, any preference? Zach Tom, Jameer Slayer, Kellen Deesh, and then Darian Kennard. Any preference? I have no clue between any of these guys.
So who was the top one?
The top one is, based upon draft and rank, would be Jameer Slayer out of Georgia.
Slayer, that's a great name.
It's football. I mean, I may as well take him, I suppose.
All right, so we're taking the tackle out of Georgia with the 72nd pick overall.
Good value. It'll be like a B+.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just seeing. No, the running back is still available, Ross. So 87th pick.
Pull the trigger.
I would do it.
So we have a trade offer from Kansas City for the 94th pick.
Take the running back. Take the running back, otherwise he's going to be gone.
All right. Ross wants the running back. So we're going to take Damian Pierce with the 87th pick overall.
He's so good. He's so
and we've completed our 3-round mock. So right now it's just finishing up. We're going to wait for our draft grades to come out. A running back did go at the end of the 3rd round, Ross. So here is our draft grades. We got an overall grade of B+. Jermaine Johnson, our first pick, got a C. Abraham Lucas got a C+. David Ojabu got an A-. Leo Chenell got an A-. Jameer Slayer, A-. And Damian Pierce, C. The grades are very Seahawk-like. I think we did a good job.
I mean, we got who we wanted to get.
So here's the first round pick. Yeah, so that was a 3-round pick. Looking at who went in the first round, obviously we passed up on Ikem Okwenu, so that is potentially a huge loss, especially if he ends up being the best tackle in that first round. But
if Jermaine Johnson ends up being the best edge rusher, you've done yourself a favor.
Yeah, I mean, if Jermaine Johnson ends up being the best guy and we got him at 12, it's all a wash. I'm actually the guy I'm most excited for is actually David Ojabu in the 2nd round because his highlights look amazing, and yeah, he's got a big injury, but players have shown that they can rehab that really, really well and come back just as good as they were. And getting him in the 2nd round, I think, is a huge value.
All right. Good night, nurse.
All right, and that was the Hawkcast.net podcast mock draft. So we'll put that online. That was actually quite a bit of fun. But we're gonna go and move on to the last topic of the evening, and it's topic number 4. And Zeb, what is your draft philosophy, and what would you like the Seahawks to do? So the question is, are you of the mindset that you take the best player available? Do you feel for need? Do you want to trade back all the time? Do you want to trade up? If you were to encapsulate your draft philosophy, what would it be?
Well, I think that you have to do some kind of combination of need and best player available. I mean, you can't just do one or the other strictly, right? You kind of have to see who's there when it's your turn to pick and then decide what's most important. So I think, as we've talked about earlier in the night, it's not the sweetest lot of players of all time early in the first. So I think, kind of like what we just did in our mock there, do a little bit of trading back, be strategic. And I think this is the kind of draft where I think what we did was pretty right. Edge, offensive line, those are most important as far as what's available right now. So I think that's a good way to go. I do not want to reach for a quarterback. And I don't see us doing anything at wide receiver or cornerback or running back anytime early. So I think this is, like we said, it's a good draft for depth, and we have some holes to fill on our lines. And I think that's the way to go.
Ross, what about you? Where are you in the world of draft philosophy and how you would like the Seahawks to kind of go? Like, we know what they are, but does your philosophy kind of mirror theirs, or would you like to add a twist if possible?
I'm not really best player available, even though that's what we're all supposed to say, and I'm not feel the need. I'm what I usually call the best fit available. Sometimes the best player is just not going to improve your roster enough. Overall, you just want to constantly add impact players or add something, skill level to your team. But I think best fit available, because sometimes there may be somebody who on paper is slightly less good of a guard, but if it's in your scheme, he's going to be better. Because of Gestalt. The sum is better than the sum. Sorry, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. So, best fit available is my philosophy overall.
Yeah,
and that can be at so many levels, like scheme, but also culture, team culture wise as well.
Yeah, I think for me, if I were to think about my draft philosophy, it's pretty much always defensive lineman, offensive lineman, and where is your biggest kind of hole. Last year was I want a corner and I want offensive lineman, defensive lineman. We got, we only had 3 picks. So we got a corner, we got an offensive tackle, and we got a wide receiver. So I got 2 of the things that I wanted. This year, I want offensive linemen on I want tackles, I want an edge rusher, and I want a corner. Those are my 3 wants. And I think that if Seattle can do that, and it was a little bit harder to do this because we only did 3 rounds, but if Seattle was in the 4th and 5th rounds, there are a lot of corners I think they could have targeted. But if this is somewhat close to what we end up with, where we focus on the edge, we focus on offensive linemen at the tackle position, I would be really happy. I really don't know these players individually well enough to say this guy's better than that guy, but if we get who the Seahawks believe is the best player for their team on the edge, on the offensive tackle line, and at the corner position as depth or veteran competition, I will be very happy. I think running backs are valuable. They're important, especially with the health concerns of the players that we do have. So I don't mind going with the running back in the 3rd round. But I just kind of feel that is a position that we take for granted, but you don't really think about it until you need it, which is an unfortunate position to be in. And that's
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going a little bit long, so we're ready to kind of reach the end, and we're going to get to some predictions. So, without further ado, we already kind of talked about it, so we'll kind of power through. But Zeb, I'm going to hit you up first. These are all yes or no predictions. Yes or no, the Seahawks trade down from the 9th spot.
Yes.
Ross?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes, if. That's kind of where I'm at. I think it's pretty highly that they will trade back. I just don't think the guys that they want will be there. Zeb, yes or no, the Seahawks take a premium position with their first pick. Premium being tackle, quarterback, wide receiver, corner, edge rusher.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be a tackle or an edge, so yes.
Okay. Ross?
Yes.
I'm also yes. I don't see them taking like the skill premier position players, but I could see them definitely going edge or tackle with the whatever first pick it ends up being. Zeb, yes or no? A team will trade up to draft a QB within the top 10 of the draft. That has been predicted quite a few times from what I've seen.
No.
Ross?
I just don't know. Yes.
I'm going to say yes. I think if anything that we've seen as sports fans is that GMs are really stupid. They get desperate. They make dumb mistakes. We've all seen Draft Day with Kevin Costner. So, teams do stupid things when it comes to quarterbacks. So, yeah, I think someone else can draft up. Zeb, yes or no? Will the Seahawks draft a quarterback in the 2022 NFL draft?
Yes. Not till late. And I don't know who.
Ross?
Yes, but yes, probably 6th or 7th round.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say yes. I think they will draft a quarterback. I'm wondering if they're going to try and get a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. I feel like with those 2 picks at the 40, I feel like that's a lot of ammunition for the Seahawks to use, and especially if no one's gone quarterback yet, that could be an opportunity where they try and take someone who has fallen, or maybe a team trades up. I think that's the best opportunity for Seattle to take a quarterback.
I get that thinking, but my opinion is simply that, again, we said to Russell Wilson, if you actually believe somebody is that good, then you should actually be taking him in the 1st round. Why risk it?
Right, at such a premium position, take it at the guy that you should.
Yeah, if you actually believe it, and if you don't actually believe in them, then why are you throwing away a 2nd rounder where you can get a quality starter or maybe even a star player? So
because
it's a calculated risk, right? Like if you,
but that's the thing. It's not a good calculation.
But that's exactly what happened in 2012 when John Schneider wanted to draft Russell Wilson in the 2nd round. Pete said, no, we can get him in the 3rd. I want Bobby now. They drafted Bobby Wagner, and then in the 3rd round, there's Russell Wilson.
And it worked out, but it was dumb.
Gamble, but you win some, you lose.
But I agree with you, Ross. Like, why would you? Why would you take that risk? Like, that's where it, quote unquote, getting cute comes into play.
It makes me think that actually, like, Pete Carroll wasn't completely sold on Russ, and I don't think he was. He was sold on him once they got to training camp.
Right.
Before that, he wasn't. If you're absolutely sold on him now, then you may as well take him in the 1st, and don't worry about what people say. Oh, who cares if people call it a reach? If you think it's your guy, that's a bit. Sorry?
Mel Kiper would throw a fit.
Birdfinger chiming in real quick and says that the Hawks want Ritter, I think. So,
I don't think
Desmond Ritter in the 2nd round. Final prediction, because we are going a little bit long. Zeb, yes or no, the Seahawks end up drafting more than 8 players?
Yeah, we're taking home a haul.
Ross?
Yeah, probably 10 players.
Yeah, I think we're taking, and add the fact that we got 3 players already from the Broncos in Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, Andrew Luck. It's quite a haul. It's pretty amazing. And, gentlemen, that is our pre-draft drama podcast.
Wait, 10 seconds. Last prediction. Do the Seahawks trade any of their players for picks during the draft?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying who.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Later.
Keep your secrets.
I'll write it down later. I'll write it down tonight on the website.
All right.
All right.
Gentlemen, that's our podcast for the evening. Shout out to Birdfinger for chiming in. Time for some shout outs.
Yeah, I got 2 shout outs. I was going to shout out Birdfinger as well. Dude, it was fun chatting with you in the chat while we podcasted. I'm a multitasker. And shout out to Matt Corral's dad, whose name is Pete, which means that if we were to draft Matt Corral, Pete Carroll and Pete Corral would get a chance to hang out.
And Pete Carroll is probably younger than Pete Coral.
Maybe.
What?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Why would he be younger? He's older.
I'm sorry. Pete Carroll, our head coach, would be older than
Yes.
the dad of the quarterback. Sorry.
He could probably be that dad's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could be his grandfather.
3 generations.
So that Derek Stingley in the draft is Daryl Stingley's grandson. So that's kind of weird.
I don't know who that is.
He was the player paralyzed by a hit from Jack Tatum, the safety for the Oakland Raiders back in the 70s.
Oh, that is crazy.
He literally paralyzed the dude in the game, and his grandson is in the draft this year. That's him.
I hope he doesn't go to the Steelers then.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway.
I hope he has a safe, long, healthy career.
Ross,
me too.
Any final shout-outs?
Shout outs to everybody who makes this draft happen. This bud's for you.
Shout out to Birdfinger. Thank you for chiming in on the chat. That was a lot of fun. We will put up our podcast and also put up that mock draft as 2 separate. So it was actually a lot of fun to see. We are the Hawkscast.net podcast. You can find us at Hawkscast.net. Check us out on Twitter at Seahawks Podcast and Seahawks Forum. The NFL draft is starting Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what the Seahawks do, and we wish you a go Hawks.
Go Seahawks.
Go Seahawks.
See?
Hawks.
Okay. Good night, guys.